Well, it's that time again. It's Tuesday night and time for another Michael Pepper Tech Talk live stream. If anybody wants to hop on and join me, just send me a message on Twitter or um, in the comments and I can get you a link. So I got some new equipment that I'm trying out tonight. I have the AKG P120 here. And off to the side, I can't really show you very easily. Well, I guess I could. Here is the Scarlett Solo, and I got a nice mic stand boom arm. Taking that off. For the microphone, I got a nice mic stand with a boom arm. And I'm using that along with a 2012 Mac Mini that I bought a couple years ago, used off from eBay. It was a refurb off from eBay for about $300. And so pretty nice setup. All in all, got less than $600 in amongst webcam, computer, microphone, audio interface, cords, stands, headphones, and it's just kind of goes to show that you don't have to invest a whole lot. I am actually in a very small, maybe 3-foot wide by 8-foot wide closet that I'm using for my audio studio, with a couple of blankets on each wall and across the back that act as noise dampening. It was some tips that I got from watching a few YouTube videos, and they recommended that for people doing audio only for podcasts and voiceovers and things like that, that you can just shoot that in an old closet full of clothes and the clothes dampen it. So it gave me the idea of, well, what if I just take an empty closet and put some blankets on each wall? Between that and the low noise floor of the new microphone and being carpeted floor, that really helps with the sound. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Oh, so there was this big kind of controversy going on having to do with a large YouTuber using another company's cases and claiming that it was his own. Well, that's not exactly what happened. He used it as influence, but he kind of made it off to like he came up with this, and he gave credit to OnePlus, but didn't really at the same time. And so that's been kind of going on. And I know a lot of people are still looking for answers for that. Let me look here real quick. So I had them on my list. So as far as what's been going on technology-wise this week, I know that Apple had their event tonight where they awarded awards for top music, top apps, for different categories and things like that. So that was pretty cool to see. And this week's been kind of slow as far as technology related. There haven't been a lot of new phones coming out or a lot of rumors so much. I did see that there were a couple iPhone leaked rumors, um, as far as the 2020 iPhones and iPads using micro LED technology for the displays. So basically, that all three models next year will have high resolution displays. They'll move away from OLED, but they'll use micro LED, which has really high detail and high contrast and works really well with the batteries. And that they will be developing those in-house, so that will help with third-party costs. What else do I have here? Let's see. Oh, shoot. I hit 15,000 views over the night, so that was pretty good to see. Working on getting my subscriber count up, but I'm not really too worried about that. Um, it's better to have people watching and expanding, and yeah, it's good to get new subscribers because that means that I am reaching a broader range of people, but it's also good to see that my views per video are close to my subscriber count, which means I'm maintaining. And I know that this time of the year is kind of slow for viewership. People are gone on the holidays. People are working. They're at school. They're not spending a lot of time necessarily watching stuff and subscribing. I know that once it gets nicer out, ironically, that changes because, well, kids are off from school. Parents have, they can just spend time with their family watching things. And so hopefully that will boost a little bit on the closer to Christmas when people have that time off. So I am really appreciative of everybody who tunes in to my videos and comments, and to those people who go back and forth with me over on Twitter, to people who have checked out my Instagram, to people who have checked out my Facebook. I've up to 16 people over there now, which isn't a lot, but considering I started that only a couple months ago, and that's sort of a different thing. My hopes with that would be that people on here would go over there and post if there are specific videos they wanted me to do and questions. Because yeah, people can post those in comments, but sometimes they get lost, and um, Facebook can be more of an interactive back and forth, and everybody can see that, not just the people that see it on a comment somewhere. So I'm hoping that that will become more prevalent. Also, I would like to expand to um, maybe doing some live streaming on Facebook. I know that Amazon has been inviting some of the larger, mid-sized to larger YouTubers to their platform to do their thing over there. So it'd be pretty neat to be able to look into that eventually, perhaps. I'm not really, I don't know what that's all about. If they pay people on there, I don't know what the monetization is as far as that. I know that YouTube, you can get paid pretty decent per video, and their requirements aren't as lofty as on here. Um, so it's really good to see competition between Amazon doing their thing, Twitch, Facebook Live, um, Instagram has Live, and I'm hoping that one of these companies will step up and challenge YouTube and maybe make YouTube have to incentivize the smaller creators a little bit better and a little bit more, and even the larger creators, because they're starting to do their own thing. Linus has Floatplane, and I know that Kyle from Bitwit is over there, and Um, they've kind of they're kind of beta testing that right now, and with the idea that they will expand to some other creators. I know Justine will probably end up being on there at some point, and um, it would be nice to see some guys over there too. Um, if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to post those in the comments. I'm monitoring those on my phone, so I get those sooner because I know that StreamYard tends to take a minute. I've been kind of experimenting with that too. Been looking into using OBS to give myself a nice background, and then I know that there's you can use a virtual cam aspect of that software to be able to transfer that video stream over here. And so I've seen quite a few channels doing that. I know that there's a lot of streams going on right now. I just wanted to kind of hop on here and do my thing. Um, and answer questions, talk about tech, and test out my microphone and see what everybody thinks. I know that it's probably going to be limited on viewership right now because I know that Gadget Chats is doing their thing right now too. And I think that, oh, and Painfully Honest Tech will be on at 8. So people are preparing for that. It's been kind of a challenge to decide what day to do it. I know Wednesday is definitely not a good night with Wired Wednesday and um, quite a few other streams going on, larger YouTubers doing streams on Wednesday nights. And Thursday was okay, but then again, there's a lot on there, so I picked Tuesday. Just figured Tuesday Tech Talk sounds perfect, and that it was more free at the time that I started doing this than other nights were, so we shall see. If Hey Tech for your needs, um, you got some free time to hop on? That moment when your wife trolls you in the comments is funny too. And she's sitting across the room laughing at me. I sent you the invite, Tech for your needs. Sent it on Twitter in a DM, so hopefully it popped up there. And actually, she had a good question on that note. I've been contemplating turning off iCloud photo streaming or iCloud photos and going back to the old photo stream because mainly I just use it for backup and transfer across devices. So, if anybody out there knows if I were to just turn off iCloud photos and leave PhotoStream on, will everything sync across and just stay? Like, can I create a backup folder on my Mac and have that backed up like to an external hard drive and have everything sync across like you can do with Google Photos? Or do I manually have to drag and drop them off and then clear them off from PhotoStream? Because prior to iCloud, I know PhotoStream worked by basically you could have it back up your most recent 30 days, and then everything else just kinda auto-deleted, and it was full resolution, high quality, so I don't know, if anybody has any solution like that. Currently, I'm just using Google Photos to sync everything between my phones because I have my iPhone and my Android phones, and being able to connect on the computer, go on to their website, and pull up photos on any computer and edit and all that stuff from right there. So if anybody has any solutions iPhoto-wise, and iCloud-wise with their photos for backing up for full resolution, I mean, I have large enough storage on my device that iCloud mainly, um, it's being taken up quite a bit since I shoot a lot of my videos on my phone, and I would like to be able to transfer some of that off from the cloud and maintain usage across devices still. It would be convenient. Um, Speaking of other devices that I use, my LG G8 just got a recent patch to the December security patch, and I know that in I think it was Germany and Korea and China maybe, the G8 finally got the Android 10 final release there, so I'm waiting to see it made available for more than just unlocked models, be available for the AT&T variant in the United States. And the same goes with my Note 10 Plus. That's one of the issues I have, one of the complaints I have when it comes to Android versus my iPhone. iPhone, it doesn't matter where you are, when the update's available, it's there. But with my Android devices, even if you have an unlocked version, a lot of times it takes a while. So, hey, what's up?
Hey, what up? What up? Guess what I got?
Nice. Is that what you're using right now?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Um, ANC is the best thing. First time having the ANC after cancellation noise, and I'm happy with it. First generation, second generation, I'm gonna say out loud, trash.
Yeah, I mean, comparative wise, if you're gonna do it, you might as well if you're gonna spend the money and you just want that kind of quality because so here's the thing, some people don't like the new ones because they complain about how they're too tight in their ears. I've actually seen a couple YouTubers that talked about they got um they had the first generation, they got the second generation when they came out to test, to see if there was any difference. And they really liked those because the ear pods, the wired ones,
Mhm.
um, were the only earbuds that they could find that actually fit in their ears and didn't hurt their ears over time. And so when the AirPods came out, they went to those. And their one issue with the new ones, they like that the sound quality is better. And part of that is because of, obviously your ears more plugged, so you get that um, more
For
contained
me,
sound. But
I had the opposite position. I didn't like the regular ones with the wire. They keep falling off.
yeah,
And then the first generation, it took me 4 months in order to stay in my ears to get comfortable, but I'm still not comfortable keep playing with it. These I could go and see them fall nothing. But just one thing, since I have them, I've been all day trying to test they got the ear fit test, and I never passed the ear fit test. I wonder, I passed it this ear, the left, but on the right, I don't pass it. But in actuality, they were fine. So I wonder if the test is not, it just a simulation, not 100% accurate.
well, I mean, it could be that your one ear is slightly different size than the other. Did you try like using different size tip in that ear then?
because I got the same tip that don't fall. They sound perfect. So I wonder if it's the test. You know what
Could
I
be.
mean? Yeah, because sometimes the left it fails sometimes, but sometimes it's like about 95% correct. So I wonder. I keep playing with it, but I can never get both of them 100% on the test. So I'm gonna call the test bogus because based on what I'm hearing and I'm walking, I jumped and I play with them and I try to run in the house and they never fall. So I guess the test is just a simulation to see if they're okay, but they're not 100% the true story when you wear them in real life.
Well, the other thing you got to remember is the way that those kind of go in your ears is similar to the original ones where it kind of curves. You know, you have
Mhm,
the stem, then it comes up and it kind of curves into your ear to hold it in, to go into your
mhm.
ear canal. So if that's just slightly moved, I would think that um, that could affect it.
I don't know. The first I had the first generation for a year, and I sold them. I got them right here. I'm gonna get rid of them sometime this week, and I'm fine with it because these never stay in my ears. I had to wait 4 months to stay, and then I can still playing with it. I don't feel comfortable. I had to buy earwings tips, and then after that, I wear a regular, but I still have a little. It depends. It's all subjective. It depends on your ears, but for my ears, this one stay good. This is the large tips.
Yeah, I had the first generation. Um, I don't know what happened. I'm not sure if they fell out of my pocket and somebody just picked them up and, took off with them,
Mhm,
or if somebody took them when I had them, like, in my jacket pocket at work. But usually I kept them in my pants pocket because 'cause I'd wear cargo pants and I'd keep them in there
mhm.
because, it's not that I didn't trust the people I worked with, but the problem is anybody could get in the back room and they could just walk somebody could have just walked back there and been gotten to the pocket and taken them, but, um, the one the one complaint I
Oh,
have with
go ahead.
so the one complaint I have with Apple about and the one thing that they would be nice to see them fix is basically, um, since they already have it where whatever devices you're signed in on, so, like, if you're signed in on your phone and you pair them to your phone and you have, like, a MacBook or an iPad or an Apple TV or whatever, it automatically shows up. What if they used something to link your account to the AirPods? So, like, if you lose them and somebody goes to try to use them, you get alerted and it says, "Hey, somebody's tried to use them. Do you wanna let them know?" And then you could say, "Yeah, send them my information," and then they could get them back to you. Or if somebody stole them, you could, report that. Because right now there's no way, like, if you if they fall out of your pocket, you're just done for. There's no way to really track them to get them back, like, if somebody else takes them and they can just use them on their device. And that's a lot of money. I mean, with the new ones, you're talking,
Mm.
$250 plus whatever your taxes are to
I never had problem because I got this. I got this, and then I'm getting this case for the pros. So I never lose them, but it depends on the person. As far as sound quality, they improve a lot. You know, the only thing is you got to be careful when you're walking because you don't want to get hit by a car if you're a cancellation noise.
oh, yeah, that would be bad. Really bad.
Hmm.
I know that,
But I didn't wear them a lot outside. Sorry to interrupt you because it was snowing. But I tested like at least 3 minutes, and it was okay.
I know that, um, there were a couple people like, Linus from Linus Tech Tips talked about using his when he was on a flight, and he said, "Man, oh man, did it help him sleep." Like, he said
Mm.
they really blocked out the engine noise and, like, people around him talking, and he said he even uses them in the office sometimes without music playing. He just puts them in his ears, turns on the noise cancellation, so that way he's kind of it's like he's in his head and the sounds around him are blocked out, so that way, um, he can just get to work and kind of ignore what's going on around him and do his thing, which I think is a pretty cool thing. I didn't realize you could do that. I didn't know that, like, if you had nothing playing, that it would. I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to use the cancellation noise, but in certain environments, you got to be careful. Let me give you a perfect example. I got a mom right now, the cancellation noise. I can't hear nothing in my building, even though my building's quiet. But what happens if it gets a fire or an emergency? You know what I mean? Because I live on my own, so you got to see when to use it, when not to use it. You got to take into account safety too. You know what I mean? Walking and certain stuff. You know what I mean?
I feel like they should have a mode that also, like, if you haven't really moved much, that they turn off. Because, like, what if, for example, you're listening to something at night and you fell asleep in your bed with them in your ears, and you're just laying there and the noise cancellation is on, and like a fire alarm or something goes off and it's far enough away that it's not loud enough
Correct.
to go through that. Like, I feel like, or maybe, I don't know, with AI, that things should be smart enough that it should be able to pick up certain noises and let them through, like smoke detectors, um, tornado alarms, things like that, and be like, "Hey, you have an emergency." Because I know, um, and this is related. So when Google did their Pixel announcement, one of the things that they pointed out and one of the things they talked about was how their Google Home, well, what's it called? The Nest Mini now? Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, it can sense like smoke detectors going off and carbon monoxide detectors and things like that. So if you're gone and one of those goes off, it will pick it up and it will alert you, hey, your smoke detector went off at home or whatever, and it will alert you through like a message and let you know. So basically, it's like making your alarms, smart alarms, without having to buy new equipment just by having the speaker there. So if Google's able to do that, I imagine that things with these wireless earbuds and the microphones and the sensors in there will be able to do something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any topic in mind, but I got a question. You got a minute.
I don't have anything in mind. I was just doing it. It was more. It was kind of a got new equipment. Didn't really get time to do other than a couple, my quick tests that I did when I initially got it, and I wanted to just kind of see how people thought it sounded and,
It
get
sounds good.
back to
What
it.
mic do you have?
I got the AKG P120,
Yeah, that sounds real good.
and
Okay, can you go
I
ahead?
got the Scarlett Solo for the
Perfect.
yeah.
So I got a question saying you use both operating system of computers, Mac and also Windows. I mean, I'm tired of Windows because sometimes I'm tired of getting viruses or getting the blue screen. So I would like to pick up a MacBook Pro laptop. So I never used that operating system. So how you can convince me to get it, or what is the good part of it, what is the not good part of it. I mean, I know the good part of it is the ecosystem, but I just want to hear it from the person that's been using it, and first as a person that never used it, because I'm saving money for that.
Okay, so first of all, my question is, what version of Windows do you currently use? Is it
I have
Windows
Windows
10?
10. I'm updated to everything because, like I said, I went to school for technology.
Okay, so knowing that, I would say going from Windows 10 to Mac OS, I don't really think that it will be that difficult for you. It's just like I kind of feel like people who experience iOS for the first time who've always used the Android device, there might be some initial, like, especially with the new iPhones with gestures, but as far, that's off topic. But anyways,
Mhm.
I feel the UI is so similar anymore that I don't think that you'll experience much like conversion shock or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
As far as if I was trying to sell you on it, I would say, knowing how much you enjoy your AirPods and how much you use your iPhone, the convenience of everything syncing across with the ecosystem of like, you take a photo and it's there. Your
One
Apple
more thing.
Watch, you can use your Apple Watch to unlock your computer. The other thing is AirDrop, so even if you don't sign in and set up iCloud to sync everything across, because I've recently come to realize that that can use up a lot of space. Like I went from using maybe 10 gig of my cloud, and I do the 99 cent a month where I get 50 gigs
Mhm.
of storage,
Me
to
too.
like 40 gigs of it taken up because of videos and stuff. So now I gotta go in on my phone and like back it up to my computer and delete it from the cloud. But AirDrop is really nice. I shot when I did my first 4K video, it was only like 3 minutes long, but it was like 2.5 gig. I just used AirDrop because it was faster to do that than it was to plug the thing in. And the video transferred in like 30 seconds to my computer. I brought it into iMovie, which is here's another selling point. iMovie, it's free, and you can do a lot with it, especially like the recent stuff. I believe you can do some chroma key editing in there where you can, if you have a green screen behind you, you can take it out. So the
Mhm.
benefit of the free software that they include, as far as like Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, which is like PowerPoint and Excel and Word. Um, you know, you can have that on your phone, and you can have it on your Mac, and everything syncs across. Um, and that's all free. Whereas Microsoft wants to get you to do their Microsoft 365, so that you get the most recent versions. And as far as what most people use on a daily basis is a lot of people. So, you have YouTube, right?
Okay.
And a lot of people use Chrome, whether they have an Android phone or an iPhone, and like
True.
Gmail. So what most people don't realize is they're probably invested in Google services more than they are any other service. Like even Apple people are invested in Google services because they use Gmail, they use YouTube, they use Google search. A lot of people use Google for their login because websites by default have that. So when you get a Mac, load up Safari, download Chrome, log in, and everything's right there. I mean, you still have the same access like you'd have on your Windows machine, but you get the benefit of the free um, document software, the free um, PowerPoint presentation software, and Excel for doing your documents or whatever. Um, so that's what a lot of people say, well, you go with a Mac, it's more expensive. But you don't think about all the stuff that they include for free. Like, you can't easily just take your Dell computer to a Dell store and get it fixed. But even if you don't get Apple Care on your Mac, for the first year, you have that coverage for free, that if something happens, you bring, your keyboard, the keyboard issues they had. Well, other companies go out and say, "Hey, we'll replace your thing. We'll replace it for free. We know it's an issue." Even on older machines, just bring it in, we'll replace it. You don't get that benefit with most other companies. Even, yeah, there's
True.
some Samsung stores and there's some Microsoft stores, but there's not nearly as many.
Mhm.
So the software that's included, the um, customer service, And then as far as viruses, yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten a virus in a long time. I guess I'm lucky. I don't, I don't, I don't know. I think it's partially because I actually don't use my computer or didn't use my computer as much before as I do now that I'm using it for editing and typing up my descriptions and doing all that stuff. So as far as, and then suggestions, so I wouldn't go with a new one. And I would actually honestly look at like a 2015.
Refurbished.
Yep. So I'm actually talking to you right now. The computer I'm using to do this, and I actually recorded using GarageBand. I went in and used my microphone and I recorded an a cappella cover of the song called Gravity by Sarah Bareilles.
Oh yeah, I love it.
And it exported that 3 minute, was it 3.5 minute audio clip? Like that exported really fast. So if you are into and want to do like any just straight up audio work, like voiceovers, for example, there are a lot of YouTubers when they'll shoot their main thing and then you do B-roll and then you put your voice in. I mean, you know that.
Mhm.
They'll be quick. It'll be even faster if you were talking about on a 2015 MacBook Pro. I'm using a 2012 MacBook Air with, it was the Core i5 at the time, but that's only a dual core. And
Mhm.
let's see, um, the processor here real quick.
I know.
It's
When you
only a
look at that,
it's only a 1.3 gigahertz dual core
mhm.
Intel Core i5 with 4 gigs of RAM that are at 1600 megahertz with the Intel HD Graphics 5000 that has 1536 meg graphics, which isn't anything special. So, most of those refurbs you're going to find are going to have at least 8 gig, maybe 16 gig. They're going to have more storage because I only have 128 gigs of storage. And the thing about those is a lot of those you can still open up and upgrade yourself.
Mhm.
Like you could buy one
Cause
that has your RAM that you need, but maybe it only has 128 gigs of storage. You could open that up and you could go on like Amazon and probably get a 512 gig um, M.2 solid state storage. Pop that in the slot and upgrade your
mhm.
storage for a lot less than buying that through Apple. And plus, you'd have all your ports, because they started removing ports, I think was it 2016?
Correct.
So there's that.
And let me tell you my main reason why I'm converting to Apple. Reliability, well, not reliability, but I like the product is longevity. I bought one thing because my friend got the 2014 and 15 MacBook and it's still working like a champ. So that's what I like about it. I, see, Windows, I mean, okay, I'm a particularly different person than everybody else. I'm good with Windows because I went to school for networking, so I can fix my computer. See the difference? But see, I maintain my computer all the time. I got the top of the line 2015 Windows Dell XPS, and I'm happy with it. But the thing is, I don't. Windows don't last. You know what I mean? They'll go for 2 or 3 years, and after that, you see the sluggish in it. You see how slow they go. Mine, I kept it fast because I'm an advanced user. I'm not a regular user. But I'm done with that. I want things to last 5, 7, 8 years. I don't want to keep buying. So that's why I want to get a MacBook Pro. I don't want to get a computer because I like portability to move around in case I got to go different places and do different stuff. And I already know how to use iMovie because I used it already.
I can understand that because my desktop that I have, um, well, I don't use it a lot anymore for your the reason you gave there, because I like to be able to
Hmm.
grab my laptop and use it in another room, whether it's my MacBook Air. I also have a a ThinkPad. It's
Hmm.
the E440. Um, and that has like 500 gigs of storage, 16 gigs of RAM. It's only the i3 processor. It had Windows on it originally, but I installed Ubuntu on it. I think, what am I upgraded? I'm at
Or Linux.
version 19.10 right now, just because
Hmm.
I wanted better battery life. And most everything I do, like this streaming right here, you can do on any computer as long as it has Chrome, because it's in the browser, so I don't have to worry about it. The only thing is I can't use my setup because the drivers.
Mm.
So there's only drivers for Windows. Now on Mac, that's the other thing. I didn't have to install any drivers. I didn't have to. I went and installed their software so you can, because they have software that lets you basically, um, it lets me adjust some of the things that you can physically adjust, but via software. So like I could have my Scarlett Solo further away and be able to adjust certain things from my computer, like turn on and off the air, which there's a button on here that says air on it. And basically what that does is, well, let's see if you notice anything sound different here real quick. Do I sound any different?
A little bit, just a little.
Okay, so there's that with it on and then with it off. So what it's supposed to do is make it sound more like more room noise almost. But the thing is, most so that's something that you can turn on and off. But the nice thing I like about this is this interface is so simple that um, once I have the gain set like I need it, I could just have this thing away from me. Like I could have it away around the corner and just have um, my laptop in front of me and not have to have it right there, and adjust everything in software. But the problem is most of that stuff isn't available on Linux.
Mm.
But the nice thing is, so another point about when you're talking about going from Windows to a Mac is drivers. You don't have to worry about installing the drivers. I plugged it in and it worked right away. Like on my, I have a desktop that I built back in March. Um, I and at the time it had the basically the highest specs you could put in the thing for AMD.
i7
No,
or
I had
AMD.
the Ryzen 7 2700X,
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
which was the highest end you could get at the time because that was before the new 3000 series came out. And the
Hmm.
RTX 2070, the only thing you could get higher was the 2080 or the 2080 Ti. But
Correct.
for most use, and 32 gigs of RAM. So really the only thing that I could have gone higher was to go to the 2080 Ti and get ridiculous amount of RAM and up my storage. But other than that, basically the highest end. And I don't use it a ton, but that is about to change. But um
So how much you pay for that system in total, if you don't mind me asking?
um well, at the time, considering that RAM was really kind of at the high end at the time, which
Hmm.
means graphics card was also at the high end at the time, and that was before all the new AMD processors came out. It was about $1,600,
That's not bad.
and that includes 500 gig Samsung Evo 960 SSD,
Hmm.
um, and a 240 millimeter liquid all-in-one cooler,
Oh yeah.
and 3 RGB fans, and the case, and a um
A glass case, right? Like a glass window.
yeah, it's got a glass window on it, yep. And then I got a 750 watt
Power supply.
80 plus gold, Cooler Master, MWE, power supply. I mean, I went the highest end I could go at the time. I contemplated going with the RTX 2060. And then, so going down a level with my graphics card, but then getting the i9 9900K and going Intel direction. Because then I could have gone with lower speed RAM and probably less RAM. But then I was thinking I'd be compromising on my graphics card, and for what I wanted to use it for, I really didn't want to do that.
So my question is, why not go to, with Mac option?
So it was more just because I had been watching a lot of computer builds and things like that, and it was just something I wanted to do and see if I could build something decent. And I already had my MacBook Air and my Mac Mini, and
Yeah, because the reason I'm asking so much question because I'm going the opposite. So I want to know if I'm making the right decision based on longevity of the product.
so here's the thing though. So I'm talking desktop, and as far as that goes, you know, this could last me 4 or 5 years, and if I have any issues, like, let's say, a couple years from now, um, I feel like it's slowing down, I can just upgrade parts myself, I don't have to upgrade everything. I can go in there and I could put well, it depends on if AMD stops supporting the particular chip slot, the AM4, um but if they continue to support that next year when they release the AMD 4000 series, I could put that in there because I got, an X470 motherboard, which at the time,
Mhm.
was one of the highest you could get, which means I can upgrade my processor if I want, and then, having built it, basically, I can upgrade any parts that I want at any time. But the other thing I have to say is I've yet to own a PC that lasted as long as a Mac that I've owned.
Correct. Because let me tell you a little story with my friend. Well, I just met her like a year ago. She got a 2012 MacBook Pro working perfectly fine. The only thing she had to change is the battery once. So that's the reason I want to go Apple because the longevity of the product. That's the key word that I'm saying. I want to save money because building a computer is no problem with me. I could build it. I mean, like I said, I went to school for networking, so that's not the problem. Yeah, I haven't built a lot of computers. I built like 5 computers, but I'm capable, and I'm always watching. People build computers all the time. Like Howard Canucks or Linus Tibbs. I've been watching a massive people building computer. But the thing is just money. I'm the type of age, and now that it's in need of one. Do I want to waste more money, or do I want it to last long and pay once? And that's what I'm looking. Quality. Because I fix so many Windows computer viruses. People call me this virus, this and that. Due to the reason it's getting me tired because I'm like, you're wasting your money. You go and fix this, and then you gotta go fix it again. You know what I mean? That's the only
Yeah.
problem about Windows.
So, and then the other thing, so one thing I had thought about doing was
Mhm.
I contemplated at the time looking at like a older MacBook Pro and, just buy one that has the processor that I want, but maybe it has an i5 or an i7 processor, but maybe it only had like 4 or 8 gigs of RAM and like 128 gigs or 256 gigs of storage or whatever. So buy like minimal specs on RAM and storage and go and then swap those parts out myself. Um, save a bit of money on that. And then if I still had wanted to build a PC, build one, but just go like instead of with the 2700X like I did, go with like an R5 2600 and then maybe
Mhm.
go with an AMD graphics card and that could have saved in like half the RAM and a smaller motherboard, a smaller motherboard and case and stuff. So that way, I would still have a decent desktop because it still would be enough to do editing and stuff. But at the time, my thought was I didn't want to really have to, um, what's the word? Uh, shoot.
Compromise.
Yeah, I didn't really want to have to compromise on anything. And I already have my laptop and my Mac desktop that run quite nice. So I didn't really see the need. And I mean, I thought about doing that and then maybe selling like my Mac Mini and my MacBook Air. Um, and I could have technically for what I built that computer for, I could have bought a brand new MacBook.
Hmm. But also, this is not that popular, but people been doing it. It's just not mainstream. Building your own laptop on Windows, like you did a computer, you could do it. There's companies that do that. It's not that popular. It's rare, but you could build your own laptop. I seen. I was looking at different computer, different system. I gotta send you the links. They build computers for a living, and they build laptops, and they can also do laptops.
Yeah, so I looked at like that was the other thing. So I had contemplated, I had looked at a couple different companies. So NZXT that makes cases, they have their BLD, their build, where you can
Hmm.
go in and configure and have them do it. And then Origin PC, they
Oh
do
wow.
desktops and laptops.
Hmm.
But what I found was basically it was why pay somebody else to do something that I know how to do, other than the fact you get the advantage of they have a warranty. So if something goes wrong, they handle it. Where since I built my own, if I have an issue, I have to RMA any parts. So if my motherboard fails, I have to know that it's my motherboard. I have to send it to them. Then they're going to test it. And then if it's not the motherboard, they're going to send it back to me. And then I'm going to have to figure out, okay, well, maybe it's my CPU now. Is there any warranty left on it? Okay, there is. Now I'm going to send that in. It's up to me to either pay for sending it in, or if they're not, because they're probably not going to pay for it. And then waiting and then being without a computer, where if you get, either one already configured or go to a company like that,
Hmm.
you're paying somebody that's knowledgeable to have built it. Plus, they're standing behind the product for at least a year. And you still have the warranties on all the parts. Like, you still have your 5 year, 7 year, however much on your power supply. And, you still have your year on like your motherboard and your processor or whatever. But you don't have to handle it. You have an issue, you send it to them, they'll handle it. And they might even, send you a temporary one to use. Like I imagine,
Hmm.
from what I know about Origin, because I've watched quite a few of their builds and stuff, and they do their live streams, and those
Hmm.
guys they actually, they're called, they worked for Alienware before Dell bought them out, and they're called Origin because they, um, two or three of the guys that had worked for Alienware started this company, and they're called Origin because they wanted to get back to the origin of the PC, back to the
Okay.
basics and getting so many good products, which is what they were trying to do when they had Alienware before they were bought out and then told, hey, this is how we want you to do it. So the advantage with them is you have an issue, they'll probably send you like a loaner to use until your computer is working. Maybe. I don't know. I've never dealt
Mhm.
with that. But and they're going to do it as quickly as possible. I mean, they might even, if it's the CPU and they know that the company's going to replace the CPU, they might just swap in one that they have, send the thing back to you, and then when they get your replacement, they'll just use that. if they're gonna get a new one anyways.
Mhm.
So
But I can't wait. Laptops, Windows laptop become like PC, like you could build your own, like more popular mainstream. Because I know there's few companies like we mentioned, they doing it, but you just buy any case without no branding, no name, and then you build your own, and then you could replace parts. I can't wait till that happens because it hasn't happened yet. If
well,
you know, it's much better.
the companies like, for example, there's a desktop and laptop. It's a quote unquote brand that Walmart has.
Hmm.
Um, it's called like the Ultimate Power PC or whatever.
Hmm.
That that's what they did with their laptop. Basically, there's a company that makes the shell, and other companies buy that, and then they they put the parts in it. So, they make the shell, and you then solder, you put the motherboard in, you solder the processor to it, you or, set the processor on it depending on how you want to do it, and you
Hmm.
insert your RAM or solder it depending on how they want to do it. And the same thing with the storage. And then, and then you connect a battery up, and then they put their name on it, they put their logo, their sticker, their whatever on it, and they sell it as their own. There's 3 or 4 companies that all basically get the shell from the same company, and they put their name on it. Um, and sell it as their own. And technically, you could, if you knew what you were doing, you could order a case from them, order, look online for a processor that and a motherboard and stuff that works with it, and make your own. It's just a matter of, are those parts readily available, or are those going to be parts that are, pulled from, like, are those going to be parts that didn't make it into other computers or were pulled from an old computer? You never know then. And I think part of it
True.
is companies don't make money by selling you something that you can fix and upgrade yourself like that.
True.
Um, Fortunately, Apple hasn't really gone and said, hey, you know, we're going to only make computers that last a year or two, because that's that's where people don't see that. So, you might go, for example, if you wanted to get a 16-inch MacBook Pro, and you can deck that thing all the way out to like $6,000 or whatever for the i9
Hmm.
9900K, 64 gigs of RAM and 4 terabytes of solid state storage. The the Radeon was it Radeon
Five something.
5
50, I
graphics,
think.
and the really nice display that they have, and they went back to
Hmm.
their old keyboard. You could deck that thing out for that much. I wouldn't do that. But even the base model, I don't know that I would go with the base model. In all honesty, um I think the $400 to go from the base model at $2,399, let's say $2,400 to $2,800 for the i9 9900K, and more you get double the storage and more RAM too. Like, that goes, um I want to say, I think that's the one that um doubles your storage, doubles your RAM, and jumps you up to the i9 9900K.
Yeah.
And that's worth it. Now, to go from there up to, I don't see the necessity of getting 64 gigs of RAM. 16 gigs of RAM is enough for most people. So 32 gigs of
Yeah.
RAM and like a terabyte of storage and an i9 9900K is about the right point. But then if you think, if that thing lasts even let's say that thing lasts you 5 years,
which
that's
it will. Mm,
that's like you throw in taxes. So let's say you throw in taxes, you get it fairly well decked out. You're at $3,000. That thing lasts you 5 years. That's $600 a year. You could go buy a machine for half the price, but it's probably not going to last you half the amount of time. So you're still going to end up
and we,
paying more per year overall, and it may slow down sooner. Um, the other thing is Apple actually undervolts their processors, so they actually run faster
mhm.
at lower temperatures, which they don't do anything
And,
super special. They don't go in and that's all they do. They don't. It's you know they're not going to get a better pick of the processor than the company itself. Like Intel works with these companies and they have the Intel certified processors where you can, or Intel certified laptops now,
mhm.
where they're working with Qualcomm and that to do these high end where you can get it at like an i9 9900K and all that stuff. So you could spec that thing out and yeah, you're going to spend less. But are you really? I mean, are you going to get you're you're going to that's going to be for a 1080p display. That's not going to be for um that's not even going to be for the same resolution as what Apple's using on theirs. If you go to a 4K display, you'll spend probably for most companies I've noticed you're going to spend probably another $1,000 because they'll require you to have the highest end processor. They'll require you to bump up the RAM. They'll only have certain models that are available at that 4K. Well, if you don't need it, then you don't need it. And I would much rather have a computer that I know is going to last me a long time. I mean, shoot, I'm using a computer that I got 4 years ago. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm using a computer that I got almost 4 years ago that was 3 years old when I got it and it had been refurbished. Like, that's pretty good. So I'm getting the life out of a computer that most people would get out of probably a new laptop. And I'm the second user. And the original owner
And
got out of it probably what most people would expect to get out of their laptop. On average, I know they say that it's good if you get 2 years out of a laptop. Like that's all they're expected rated for battery, for storage, longevity, and all that. But I mean, I'm going on. Like I said, this is a 2012, so I'm going on almost 8 years. Well, 7 years. It was a late 2012 model, so I'm going on almost just past 7 years from when this thing originally came out. And who
a
knows?
15-inch, right?
Yeah, 13-inch. Yep.
Or 13.
Yeah, I got the 13-inch Air. But you could easily go on there and spend um what you would spend on getting a new Windows laptop and buy a decked out, 2, 3-year-old MacBook Pro and have that thing last you for another 5 years. Like
Correct.
I would have
That's the
no
key,
issue
yeah.
going and buying a 2015 MacBook Pro, um, and just upgrading if I need to myself, certain things. As long as you get it from a reputable seller, which there are a bunch on eBay, you can look at their reviews,
Mhm.
or, Amazon or wherever. I mean, you can buy a refurbished MacBooks through Apple, but I don't know that I would suggest that because the discount that you get really isn't that substantial, like used versus new on some of them.
Check this out. My friend got a 2017 Max out, but he got a great deal because the person had to leave. He had an emergency. A family member died, so he needed money to travel. So you know how much he sold the 2017? The the middle. It was the second highest to the last. He only sold it for 1,400 to my friend. That's a good deal. The 15 inch. Yes, it don't got the great keyboard, but the person never had a bad experience with the keyboard because the person always had it close on his like a closed shelf and use it with an external monitor. But that's a good deal. 1,400. He just got lucky, and that's why when you say last long, when you talk about Apple, that's why I'm trying to move away from Windows. This week I fixed 4 Windows computers because I had viruses. You know, I'm just tired of all that. I just paying. Lucky that I got this computer 2015 and it's still working because I keep maintaining it up to date. You know what I mean?
Well,
And it's a 13.
I've had really bad
Go ahead.
experiences as far as Windows machines. Yeah, it wasn't that great of a computer, but when I graduated high school, I took the money that I got and I bought a netbook. And that thing had a solid state drive in it. I replaced that solid state drive 5 times before I said to Dell, "You know what? We paid for a replacement warranty. You're going to send me a computer that doesn't have a solid state drive." And they argued back and forth and they're like, "No, this and that." It's like, "No, we paid like at the time it was like $75, which was a good portion considering the computer itself was only like $500. So we paid like 15% of the cost of the device for a warranty. And anyways, they ended up actually sending me an upgraded model of the netbook with a normal drive, and then it was fine because solid state drives kept crashing and having issues. Funny thing is, the Macs that first came out, the first MacBook to have a solid state drive was a MacBook Air. They didn't have that problem, but it's because Windows constantly reads and writes, and solid state drives, well, they've changed now, but at the time, they only had the life expectancy on those things was only like 100,000 read and writes. So depending
Correct.
on what you're doing, that thing could die out in like 6 months easily, especially if you're doing a lot of data creation. I don't know how far they've gotten. I'm assuming now they're like into like 10 million reads and writes and that Windows has gotten more optimized. But
Sometimes
still, it
people,
concerns me.
yeah, some people be like, "Oh, you're becoming an Apple fan." No, I like whatever it takes that works. If it works, I don't like paying. Honestly, I don't like paying twice within 5 years for a tech. I'm gonna tell you the only thing that I had problem with my Dell. One day it couldn't log in, so I lost everything. I lost everything, every file, but I didn't care because I got everything back up. As a computer network, the first thing you learn in school, back up everything. So I had back up everything twice. So I didn't really lost nothing, but I couldn't log in, so I had to restore it. So I had to start fresh. But that's only one time. So I'm the type of person that I guess I'm being cheap. Pay for what you get and have the longevity, and that's what it is.
That's not cheap because
No,
that's expecting quality when you pay for something, you're expecting it to last long. You know,
but it never happened with Windows. Windows don't go like that, especially laptops.
you're not you're not expecting to have to shell out that kind of money. I mean, you said you have the 15-inch?
No, 13 inch XPS 2015.
Okay, so let's see. So that computer when you got it, how much was it?
14, exactly 14. It's a
So, I mean,
3K resolution. I got 8 gigs of storage, and I got a 256 SSD.
okay, so yeah,
It,
you're expecting that
iCore
thing to
i5.
last. You're expecting that thing to last a long time. It's just like when I buy a phone, I'm expecting that, you know, if I can buy a $200 phone and have that thing last a long time, I'm expecting if I pay $1,000 or $1,400 for a phone, you know,
Yeah, we have a
$1,000
question.
for
I
I
don't know if
see
you want to
that
read it.
$1,400 for a phone. I'm expecting it to, you know, last a long time. I'm expecting if I pay a decent amount for a device for it to last a while. So, uh, phone of the year. That depends. In my
I can't say because I don't own no phone of this year.
so I have two. I own both of them. In my opinion, it was the iPhone either 11 or I have the 11 Pro Max and the Note 10 Plus. I would say are the top phones of the year. The Note 10
Mhm.
Plus, I would say overall, if you're looking
But
at
Android,
value for cost, that right there has it. I mean, you're talking about a phone that's 2/3 of the cost, and you have 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, and I can throw an SD card in there. I could shell out like $50 and more than double my storage. And for the first time in a very long time, I actually have a Samsung phone that can last the whole day. My Note 8 that I had originally, that I got, brand new, had so many problems lagging, crashing with it. Switched to AT&T. Got an iPhone originally. I mean, and then I wanted to have another phone, so I got the Note 9. Battery life on that thing was okay until about less than 2 months in, when One UI update came out, and I went
oh,
from 10 to 12 hours of screen on time to 5 or 6 hours of screen on time. I did a clean install of the OS to see if that was the issue and tried running it without installing any of my apps, like just with the basic stuff. Same issue. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try and revert back. So I uninstalled One UI and went back to 8.1. As soon as that thing started up, it automatically installed the updates and wouldn't let me stop them. So it
mm,
forced me to keep. I went into.
mm,
I tried to go into the settings and turn off, because you can turn off um, automatic
the
update
update.
install, but then it sits there and it says you have an update that, you know, it constantly reminds me, and basically, and then when a new update comes, it downloads it automatically. It doesn't install it automatically, but then um, eventually it gets to the point where there was like certain apps that I couldn't use, that I wouldn't be able to use without updating. And if the update means, you know, I got to update to be able to update my apps and keep support, and the update breaks my phone, that's a problem. So I gave them a third try. Well, technically it's the fourth Samsung phone I've owned. I owned a Galaxy S3 back like 5 years ago now, almost 6 years ago, and
I, I own the original Samsung from T-Mobile.
that was a good device. I actually didn't have any problems with that thing. Um, I actually ended up I gave it to somebody because uh and let them trade it in because I wasn't using it anymore, and they could trade it into Samsung along with a couple other phones they had to get a new phone. And for to me, it wasn't going to give me any value. I was using it on text Text Now, which is an app, but they actually had where you could buy phones through them, and then they worked over Sprint LTE at the time, or over your Wi-Fi. Um, so I got it for really cheap. But anyways, I decided to give them another try, and the Note 10 Plus actually has been surprisingly good.
You know what I
Cameras
give
have been
props
really
to this?
good. So cameras have been
I give
really
props.
good.
Yeah, I give props to Samsung because they did something. I mean, Windows tried it, but Windows never was successful. It's called DeX. And I've been telling people about Dex that they don't have really too much money. They don't want to go to Apple for some reason. I don't know. And it works for a couple of my family members. They student. They're like, oh, good with Dex. The only thing they got to buy like a little cheap monitor, like $100 or something. They'll take it to school with a cheap keyboard, and they're good to go for college because they're doing their first general classes. They don't need nothing intensive, and they're saving money to buy whatever computer they're gonna buy or laptop to the remainder of their career. So and Dex is. I think I like Dex a lot because of that. I had used Dex through my cousin, and it's a wonderful software, and it's very well integrated. So it's very beneficial.
Well, um I did a video on this. I use it and connected it up to my MacBook. And even though I have an older MacBook, it works perfectly fine. I know that Eric at Easy Computer Solutions did a video where he showed trying to use it with an old laptop versus using it with his new higher end computer and how it was so slow
Mhm.
and laggy and like took forever to load up. What was funny to me is he was using a Windows machine, so I wonder if that was part of the issue. Because his old laptop was like, when he was calling it old, I think it was a 2014. This was newer than my MacBook. But I used it and it worked just fine. Everything seemed to be pretty quick. I mean, not as fast as like using it with a newer computer, but it would work. I mean, it definitely would be a better solution than like going and buying a computer that you don't need or even buying a Chromebook. If you have the phone and you have an older laptop connected up, the only thing I don't like is you have to have a Windows machine or a Mac. So people that do coding, a lot of people that do coding run Linux. And a lot of people, or there's people that want to use, that have a Chromebook that they use because they only need a basic machine. So now you got to buy a full on laptop. The thing is, that seems counterintuitive. If you have to buy a decent Windows machine or a decent MacBook to run the thing, because I think I don't even know if like an HP Stream book with the, that low of those kind of processor and low amount of RAM and storage and stuff would support it. Like I don't know, it would, but I don't think it would run very well. So, but if you're like, for example, if I have a laptop like I have, I wouldn't be using Dex. I would just use my laptop. And I get
Correct.
the
I agree.
advantage of like you tether it in, and for example, there's a lot of people that have unlimited data on their phone, but they don't get hotspot because you have to pay extra for that. And then even if you
Mhm.
do, you only get so much hotspot. Well, if you have unlimited data on your phone and you plug it in and you use Dex, then you have unlimited data on Dex.
Correct.
But
But
it's
let me tell
nice.
you that the use case scenario is not really for meant for a laptop, meant for external keyboard, mouse, and monitor. That's how my cousin used it, and I give him an SSD. Well, this is SD. I found it and I reformatted and gave it to him because I already got one. I was just being kind because college student, broke student. So I'm trying to be helpful. I like to pay it forward. Like people help me, I like to pay it forward, and that's how it's supposed to be. So what I did is I give it that, and he bought a monitor for $50. He bought it at Goodwill at 1080p. He got a $10 keyboard and a $5 mouse, and he's okay doing his English, math, science in college. He said perfectly fine, you know.
Well, that's the thing
And
too.
then he used um Google's software like Google Sheets and all that, and he'll do his work like that.
That's the thing. I actually um am going to be looking into doing an experiment by taking. I have an adapter that I got that's USB-C to HDMI. It has HDMI full USB and another USB-C. So I use that with my phone, I used it with when I had my Note 9, and I've used it with my Note 10, to hook it up to the TV, and then because it has a full-size USB, I actually tried this. I took my keyboard and my mouse from my PC and hooked it into a hub and plugged it in there, and it worked through a hub.
Exactly my point.
And then I plug in my charger, and then my phone's charging while it's working. So I'm actually wanting to do a whole series where I use my Note 9 just to show it can be done on there too, so you don't have to have the newest phone. You could do it on a Note 8 or a Note 9 to show what can be done with just a dongle. Now, some people might be like, well, why are you going to buy a monitor and a keyboard? If you have that, you probably have a computer. Not necessarily. Or what if you had it from when you had like an old laptop? Like a lot of people
Correct.
use their laptop hooked up to a monitor and a keyboard. Well, what if you don't want to, what if your laptop's having issues? Or what if it, the power supply stops working, you have to have it plugged in all the time, or you want something a little bit more portable? You can get a foldable keyboard that has a trackpad built into it, fold the thing up, throw the adapter, your phone, and your phone charger like in a little bag, put your phone in your pocket, then anywhere you are, hotel, a lot of the times they have, their TVs, you plug in HDMI cable to it. You can even get a 13-inch portable USB monitor
Correct.
for like $90 that you could plug in. Now, mind you, you'll have to use an adapter for to get it to go through. You'd still have to use the adapter because those you can't put the video through the USB to it because it's not a USB-C unless you go to like the more expensive ones. But you could
True.
use the adapter like I have because it has HDMI port. But then a lot of people
The
have a TV
only
in their house.
the only negative I see for that, because like the only negative, if that's your permanent solution, like my cousin, then that's gonna degrade the battery life because you're always constantly using it. So that's the only thing that was discussing the other day with my cousin for Thanksgiving, because he was like, "Oh, I'm going back to college to finish my finals, but I want to get a new phone." I said, "Why? If your phone's working?" He said, "Yeah, but I'm killing the battery because that's the only computer that I have because I'm a broke college student. I can't." I said, "But you could buy a Chrome, and you know what I mean. You don't have to force your phone." He said, "But for now, I can't afford it. I'm saving all my money to get it a MacBook." So he's already 16 $1,600 that he got for his MacBook Pro, but he want to buy the new one. So I see his point of view that the battery's taking a hit, but you also got to look at that. You know what I mean? That's the only negative for doing Dex.
Yeah, but you also have to think like if you're using it the same amount of time, like you might be using it in front of you. Yeah, Dex is gonna push it harder, but I mean, if that's all you have, that's all you have. And then the other thing you have to think about is you can get like a Note 8 for super cheap. So even if you had one and you're using Dex and basically it degraded your battery down to the point where it's not usable anymore, which is probably going to take a while. Like you got to
True.
think that's going to be what, maybe a year or two from now. So by the time that happens, you could probably buy another phone, if you had a Note 8 and let's say that thing dies out next year, you could buy a Note 9, which will be 2 years old at the time, for probably a couple $100 by the time that comes around and do it all over again, and you'll still have spent less than you would spend on anything else.
I'm gonna stay here up to 8:30, so I'm gonna stay my 6 more minutes because I gotta make a private phone call, private
Okay.
matter. So
No problem, that's good. I'll
mhm,
probably hop off because there's gonna be some other streams coming on. There's actually
yeah.
some right now, but I
So
wanna catch
I just wanna yeah.
those, so
So yeah, talking about this, the reason that I'm talking about this is showing people that you don't have to, if you are a student or somebody that is broken or have enough money, that's a good discussion to talk. So we are teaching people that there's different ways to save money. You know what I mean? If- Especially for college students. So it's a good topic to talk about. And where awareness of tricks that you could get away. You don't have to be stuck to the computer lab all the time. You know what I mean? If you stay in dorm and you don't have enough money, or depending on the situation, there's is situation to alleviate your pocket.
Well, yeah, you can. I mean, there's a lot of ways to go about it. I mean, the other thing is like I have a
From
cheap I have a cheap Pico projector that I got
mhm.
online, and I got an adapter because that uses mini HDMI that goes to full HDMI. I could plug that into my phone and use that anywhere. Just project on a wall and do that too. So like,
Mhm.
well, and the other thing is like, um, if you had to present a project for a class, you could just plug your phone in to the adapter, hook it up to the projector, just like you would hook up your laptop and present. And you can use the S Pen to do that. And if
Yeah,
you
that's what I
don't,
tell people.
and if you don't have a note, like let's say you have an S9 or a note or an S10 that still supports DeX, um,
Correct.
I believe you can get like a USB pointer
Hmm.
that will be recognized as like a mouse, and then you could just click to go through your presentation too. And those are cheap, or even just a USB mouse to do it. Or, Logitech for $20 you can get it's a keyboard with a little trackpad next to it,
Oh yeah.
and then just um and a lot of times those have arrows on it that you can use for presenter mode and just go through and do your thing. And I mean, there's
That's
all
why I say we
sorts of
live in the
options.
best day and age. You know.
And I actually found out not too long ago that I can plug my webcam into my phone with that adapter, and there's actually some apps that will let me use the webcam, and you could record video from it. So, like,
Which webcam you have?
I have the Logitech C920. It's only a
Oh,
1080p,
I got the 22 Logic.
but the thing is with that is, um, so let's say you want to do YouTube videos and you want to get top down, I could take my webcam, put it on a tripod, angle it down, and then have my phone and sitting up in front of me as like a view to be able to see what it's shooting, and you can record with it. So I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can do, and that's without even using DeX. But I'm looking into seeing what else I can do. Um, I know that I can actually use the cable that came
There
with
it
my
goes.
phone.
There it goes. Your next video.
And I found out I can use the cable that comes with my phone, because it's a USB-C to USB-C cable.
Hmm.
And the audio interface that I got, the Scarlett Solo, is
Hmm.
USB-C. I can plug that in, and it will actually support the 48 volt power output and record from my microphone to my phone.
Never say you don't have ideas to make videos. There you go.
It That's great. I mean, the things you can do. I mean, I wouldn't even have to have my laptop. I didn't get a chance to get it set up tonight, but my goal was actually I wanted to see if I were to use the adapter I have and just prop my phone up, if I could do this whole stream just from my phone without my computer because USB-C output, and it provides enough power for the microphone, and I could have done it just using the camera from my phone and done it if I wanted to, but I don't know. I think it would
Yeah,
be
that's a
issue with
good.
light though.
Yeah, but you know what? It's good to do a series like that. I mean, you two on a budget, you could do it like that.
Well, that's the thing, like I said, though, is even if you don't have a phone, what I spent on my laptop was
Hmm.
$300. So then I have my audio interface was 110, my microphone was 80, everything else. I mean, all in all, I spent about $650, including like taxes, and then I got extended warranty. I got a 2-year warranty on my microphone, and the audio interface added in for that was like $50. So even take that off, that's $600. That's a lot less than most people probably would look to spend on a laptop. And then you throw in the webcam, and you can find those for cheap now. You can find those for like $20.
True.
So I could have gone with the high-end Shure SM7B, which this audio interface will actually support and power. Actually, that doesn't even require power, but we'll get enough gain, and still been well under $1,000. So you can do it, and you could go way cheaper than this. You could go with a $40 mic and a lower end audio interface and still create. So there's no excuse for it, really. And that's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of trying to show. And hopefully, people will rewatch the stream and know. And I'm gonna go into go into the description and just kind of change that up a little bit. But
Well, with that said, I'm gonna head out because I gotta do this phone call.
have a good night. Thanks for
Yeah,
joining me.
thanks for having
I'll be
me.
on
Yep.
next week. So
Okay. So I'll see you the same time, same channel. Tune in, folks.
oh yeah. Thank you everybody for who hopped on tonight, and I understand there's a lot of other streams going on. I will be back same time, probably around the same time next week. Thank you everybody, and please like, comment, subscribe, and check out my Instagram, Michael Pepper Photography, my Twitter at Michael Pepper TT, my Facebook, Michael Pepper Tech Talk, and post any questions or ideas down in the comments. And good day and God bless.